Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma and Brian E. Roach.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. My name is Joe Kuzma, and joining me for yet another pre-draft episode is Mr. Brian E. Roach. And Brian, man, we're getting hot and heavy into this, about 2 weeks away from the NFL draft, and we're trying to hammer out some of the different draft targets, but it really seems like the Steelers might be zeroing in on one specific. But it's good to have you back to back this time, and we're
very exciting
to this, man. Yeah, what are you thinking, man? How are things going?
I'm very happy because I found my sarcasm sign.
There you go. That's what we needed, was more fresh.
That's all I need.
You know what's one thing we will not tolerate on this show?
Stale sarcasm.
That's right. Oh, geez, I got to remember that the fresh sarcasm sign. Fresh. I had a boss. He used to talk like that. I don't know if he watched too many cooking shows or what his problem was, but he would be talking about cooking. He'd be talking about things like he'd just go buy at the grocery store, not any fancy butcher or anything like that. And it was always fresh. And it was like, you wonder where I get some of the bad things that I say. It's my mom. It's how I ended up an English major. And it's kind of funny because I deprogrammed myself from saying like yins for so long and stuff like that, worse and measure and all the yins or talk, because they said everything wrong. It was like, no, proper English. I don't do the Queen's English. Just got to have like a little bit of proper English. And then like I just screw up. And then you got the guy that's like mozzarella. You know what I mean? Mozzarella, prosciutto. I'm just like, oh, come on,
I'm gonna leave letters out.
Yeah, it scarred me for life. But I wanted to catch up with something from the last episode real quick, and I think there was some other new. Oh yeah, the Browns are poverty franchise, no longer First Energy Stadium. I can't help myself, man. I really can't. I had to. That made my day. So anyways,
I haven't been paying attention. I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
They sponsorship is gone. It's no longer First Energy.
Really?
So it's back to being Cleveland Browns Stadium. Sorry. You know what? That's good that you say that, because I didn't complete the thought. Not everybody is on top of it. That's why they tune in and watch us. That's, you know what I mean? So I got to inform the people.
Look, I know Charles thinks that I pay a lot of attention to the Browns, but I don't pay any attention to the Browns, nor whatever is going on with the Browns. I don't care.
Oh, you know what? I got to find where I found that. I was doing the mock draft simulator earlier, right? You want to blow a Clevelander's mind. Yeah, you saw it. I saw you were laughing. You got the laughing thing on here. I'm going to see if mayhaps, let's see. How do I got to pull this up on the big screen somehow. So yeah. Just to show.
Was this PFF?
Yeah, this was Pro Football. Sense. This was Pro Football Network, and I have it on my screen. I'm just trying to see if there's a way I can get it up. I didn't have this set up in advance, but this is for the masses, quite like Black Sabbath. So let me see here. I don't think I'm going to be able to get it, but irregardless, which isn't a word, by the way, that's some more of the Yenzer speak. The trade that was offered to me, and this was for the Steelers' first round pick 17 and then pick 241, and that must be in the 7th round because they've got nothing else. But you ain't got no 7th round picks, Lieutenant Dan. So the Cleveland Browns pop into my chat window, right? And they offer me basically everything they have left. And for the remainder of I don't even know how many years. And oh man, I still can't get it all the way up. That sounds like a personal problem. Yes. I was putting it there. So you see, they want to give me pick 74 and also pick 98. And
the next 2 years, twos, and Nick Chubb.
And Nick Chubb, yes. It's just fantastic. And I said I would do this trade just on the condition. Now I got it, but it's too small. Like, everything's not cooperating with me right now. But pick 74, which is third round. 98's got to be fourth round or end of third round, somewhere in that neighborhood. Yep. Nick Chubb, a 2024 second rounder and third rounder. So 4 picks for 17 to 241 plus Nick Chubb. Like, I would do that just to screw their franchise. I don't think they have a first rounder next year already still from the Watson trade.
I'm just telling you, I wouldn't do that trade.
Why? Because you don't like the Browns. You're afraid of who they'd get at 17?
No, I don't consider it value enough. I don't want it.
They don't need Nick Chubb, but
I don't need Nick Chubb. Why are you offering me Nick Chubb? I don't need Nick Chubb.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't know what his dead money looks like, but I just thought that would be funny though. And just because I'm that kind of guy, and we have all kinds of things. It is an
amusing offer, but I don't want it.
It's very amusing. His dead money right now, well, it's 10 for this year, and then maybe 4 for next year. So his cap number is Steelers would pay him $4 million in each of the next 2 seasons to back up Najee Harris. Oh man.
Well,
yeah.
Here's the other bit. Like, look, the only problem I have with Pro Football Network Simulator is you can't touch 2025 picks. Oh. The only picks you can trade are 2024.
Oh my!
So because I would take that deal if they gave me their 2025 first rounder, and then I'm okay with it.
Yeah, really, really handicap them, saddlebag them. Well, the other thing was, I'm sure you heard this. It came from Jeremy Fowler. I'm not sure anybody else that reported it a little while ago. Remember the Bengals signed Orlando Brown this offseason, Kansas City for whatever reason, and a lot of other teams. He kind of sat out there longer than anyone would have imagined for being what is believed a premier left tackle. He still a good player. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, very good player. Yeah,
but for his pay rate, I wasn't in.
He wants to be a left tackle. He wants to be paid as a left tackle.
Yes. Do you believe for a minute though that the Steelers were realistically in on Orlando Brown? Because I've just seen so much of that noise over the last day or two now. And we just talked about the offensive lineman. So that automatically means the Steelers are drafting a left tackle, an offensive tackle in the first round because they were in on Orlando Brown. No, they would have signed someone else, would they have not, or pursued?
This is what in on Orlando Brown means, right? This is what it means. Hello, Orlando Brown's agent. You take $10? No, all right. Well, okay. Thanks.
It's hey, we noticed, this is still sitting here. It's like one of those eBay auctions, Facebook Marketplace. Somebody's got something that's overpriced.
And do you not think it would be an upgraded tackle? Yes, it would at one of the positions. But clearly they were not going to overpay. Do I think they actually made a substantial offer or were considering a substantial offer? I'm sure if they thought they were going to go in, it would have been a number that was closer to, $20 as opposed to $10. But I mean, it wasn't going to be at the top end. It was probably going to be a decent offer, and he would have had to want to take it. And they probably weren't going to guarantee that he could play left tackle.
Did the Steelers have $16 million a year to have fit Orlando Brown into this? I know the cap is a myth and everything else like that.
I'm sure they could have figured it out. But
that's where I don't.
Probably not.
I mean, but doesn't guarantee that if they wanted to upgrade more, they would have at least signed a veteran right now. Like they just did Suamalo and Brian Herbig over Dotson. And I'm only defending Moore as much as I've said. From the bye week, he played better, etc. He was a higher rated, yada yada, still younger, whatever. But it's not to say they won't upgrade from him. But I'm not using Orlando Brown as the metric to say that this is a lock or a guarantee or anything of that nature.
Oh no, not at all.
Yeah.
Look, and that brings me to another point. And I know that I should be saving this for the mock drafts show. But Mel Kiper's an idiot.
Oh, he's not the only one.
I know, but he's a moron.
Oh, geez. Was it just, it wasn't Charles Davis or Bucky Brooks or.
Charles Davis has them taking somebody like what, Deontay Banks or.
No,
an edge rusher?
Yes, because.
He's also an idiot.
Nolan Smith, actually, out of Georgia, because, and here it is. See, I'm actually prepared for this one, buddy. Alex Highsmith just enjoyed a breakout year for the Steelers with 14.5 sacks, but he's in the final year of his rookie deal. Edge rushers are the motor that drives Pittsburgh defense. So let's replace him with a completely unproven commodity that's a rookie that they're going to use their first-round pick for a guy that's not going to start this year, or so they could devalue the other guy that just had 14.5 sacks. Hell no. You're going to, if anything, Orlando Brown's money that might have been earmarked there in this pick, this is all going to Alex Highsmith. They're going to try and get an extension done. I believe this training camp. It's not like the Steelers to pay just one edge rusher if they're worth it. They even tagged Bud Dupree. It's just the fact that the cap went down and there was nothing they could do. They lost a lot because of the COVID year. So that leads us into this whole front seven topic that we got going on today, because we're going to be talking about the importance of those the linebackers and the defensive line in the Steelers. We'll just say 3-4. We know it fluctuates, this, that, and the other thing, but it's your edge rushers. I don't think edge rusher is a high priority for the Steelers in this draft. In fact, I expect them to be signing Bud Dupree anytime during or right after the draft, or anything that doesn't muddle with the compensatory formula. I think it's a match made in Pittsburgh. I think he's coming. And I still think they're in a better place than they were last year with this. And they had to trade for Malik Reed and whatever. And everyone just thought, well, Jameer Jones, he was cut, so that means a move at this position. It's like that first round pick, it's going to be somebody that's going to be starting. And that could be an offensive tackle, somebody that's an upgrade over Dan Moore. That's a spot. But we talked about this. Me and Flash will be talking about the swagger with the DBs and that. Like there's areas there in the secondary that look like, wow, whoever gets drafted, they're going to play right away. But let's not kid ourselves. Okay, even though I'm down on edge rusher, that could be like third round pick, fourth round pick. Maybe they pick up another kind of Alex Highsmith guy or somebody that's in for depth. But inside linebacker has been a bugaboo for a long while. Cam Hayward on your defensive line is getting longer in the tooth. Larry Ogunjobi, he was signed for 3 years. He's 28 right now. End of his contract, he'll be in his 30s. Do you know if DeMarvin Leal or Isaiah Loudermilk are dudes? And they just signed, we talked about Armani Watts, and he had some starts, but he's really just Montravius Adams 2.0. They're basically the same kind of guys, plucked from another practice squad and thrown into action that you could significantly upgrade from. And there are guys in this draft that could go right in there and get some significant amount of reps and spell Cam and make sure Larry isn't just practicing once a week if he gets that in, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm really getting my horses in, even though I like DB picks and I think they're position flexible. I think defensive line, it could very well surprise a lot of people. It's not always the sexiest pick either, but I would, depending on some of the names that are here, obviously, Brian, I would not be upset with, let's say, a defensive tackle, defensive end kind of hybrid guy with pick 17.
Let me say it this way. I would never be upset. I'm not going to be upset, depending on the name that gets picked. Some of the names that they've been floating around at 17, no. I actually don't think that they'll pick a defensive lineman at 17. I think it's unlikely they pick a defensive lineman at 17. But if somebody falls that they think is value, and the other positions where they may have been more targeting are gone or not providing the same value, Paris Johnson's gone, Broderick Jones is gone.
Exactly.
Porter's gone. Witherspoon's gone. Gonzalez is gone. That's 5 guys. Those 5 guys are all gone, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Is there a value pick at 17 for a tackle or a cornerback anymore? Probably not. No. Right? And probably whoever you were going to take at 17 might be around at 32. And even if they're not, even if one of the other teams picks that guy, there's going to be a equitable type guy left, right? Probably not Deonte Banks and Cam Smith are going to both go. Probably not Anton Harris and DeJuan Jones and a couple other people, although there's reports about DeJuan Jones, whether he's actually interested in playing football. Who knows? I
didn't hear that one. That could throw a real linchpin into everything.
Yeah. There was somebody was like, the Steelers are not happy with DeJuan Jones because he didn't do anything at his pro day. And I think they were a little ticked about that. But be that as it may, still, if he's around there at 32, you still might go ahead and take a swing at him if the interview process has made you feel comfortable with the fact that he's going to be all in. You don't want another Mike Adams kind of guy.
It's funny that you just mentioned that, because I was thinking not only his size, like what if he just comes in and he's a slob or something? They had problems with the fitness and out of shapeness of, unless rounds of shape, Kevin Dotson. So he shows up, and I defended him. I'm like, well, dude's been hurt. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's like, you're a professional. You got to take care of your business. You gotta look and act the part here. And if this guy's already disinterested, it's like red flags are flying everywhere.
Oh, absolutely.
And that gets you to the defensive line part too, because obviously Cody Mach, Matthew Bergeron. There's a few other guys that are there that could be in
and
those.
Are all going to be second round kind of picks.
Yeah, exactly.
Although somebody had Cody Mach going like in the first round high in one of their mock drafts. I was like, but that was like that was clearly a broken mock draft. It was the worst mock draft I ever saw. Anyway,
there's quite a few of those. Like there's players that are going all over the place. Like Gonzalez almost fell. He fell to like 16, I think, in one of the ones I ran. Yeah, that's what you're dealing with the big boards. Different people have different ideas of different needs for teams and stuff of that nature. And that brings a good point about the character things, off-field things. To some people, maybe not a big deal, but Jalen Carter, if he were there, I don't think he slides that far.
There's no way he's going to slide to 17. It's just not possible. He's too good, right? But if he slid to 15, trade up and get him. I mean, if he slid that far, this is like, it's like if Paris Johnson is there or Broderick Jones is there. And I will tell you again, I'm going to say this again. If everybody else is gone and Jackson Smith and Jigba is there, you run your butt up to the podium and take the guy.
Yeah.
If Jalen Carter happens to fall to 17, I will run naked through my neighborhood in joy and happiness if the Steelers pick him. All right, so there's two parts of this. If he falls to 17 and the Steelers take him, that's the only way I'm getting naked.
Well, it's good that you never made those bets when it was like, well, if Miles Jack falls out of the first round or DK Metcalf falls out of the first round or, Jordan Davis slid pretty far last year too. So you never say never with some of these, but that's the very first one.
Jalen Carter's not falling.
Yeah. The one I see all over the place is Kalijah Cansey out of Pitt.
And I just don't think I want to do that.
Well, at all or just at 17?
Just at 17. If he's around 32, I'd consider it. If he's around later in the draft, I'd consider it.
Well, let's put it this way. I don't expect Paris Johnson, Jalen Carter. I don't even expect Smith and Jigba to be there at 17.
Neither do I.
But if for some, Witherspoon, but if for some forsaken reason, I'm thinking like there's a handful of guys where it's like, okay, this is corner, Gonzalez, Porter Jr., or I think Broderick Jones is in that category too, for an offensive tackle. That's why we say it's like, very position flexible. But, now that's the reason why you're like, okay, well, not worried about Kalijah Cansey because you know what? And maybe a lot of other teams aren't either. And he's there at 32 or 49 or something like that. And you can still get your defensive lineman. And
the other one I see a lot is Brian Breezy.
Yeah,
Breezy. And like, I'm not against that pick, right? If it's there, like, I don't think he's there at 32, right? Yeah. But maybe anything is. I just, if everything falls the wrong way, maybe.
I'm thinking about the size of some of these guys too. Who needs to maybe lose a little weight? Who needs to drop a little bit of weight? With the way the Steelers use their, hybrid guys, they got to be guys that could be capable of playing all along the line. They're not going after Big Snack. Like, I wish people would get away from this. Big Snack is that's
Sakai, whatever his name from. If he remember early mock drafts, he was the guy. He was the guy at 17. Oh, Sakai, if he's but. Like, now he's in the third round.
It's the same thing. Like when I said the other, maybe I didn't say this. I published this on Steel City Underground, and it was the Steelers and Bears have had talks about pick number 9, and it was right after we went through that whole draft chart. And hey, here's the teams that can maybe go move up with, and they're still like 7 and 8 if you're talking about the Raiders or Falcons when it comes to the draft value charts and this thing that really isn't used, but it was, believed to have come from Jimmy Johnson, Hall of Fame coach of the Dallas Cowboys, and that's what people like you or I use to say, well, this is what might take to move into this spot.
Yes.
It's not what other teams are. They're not pulling out the chart. Well, I'm sorry.
Oh,
your
Jimmy Johnson chart was not good enough for us.
Sorry, 20 points. We can't pull off that trade. No, you're not doing all that math, and clearly the Carolina Panthers didn't when they traded for one. But the Bears at 9, and they're talking about the Bears Ryan Poles or whatever their GM and stockpiling picks, and they have to build out this team a little bit better, et cetera, right? And they've already traded with the Steelers. It's so convenient. They already did it. So let's have the Steelers give 17 and 32 to move up to 9, to move up.
And the answer is no. 17 and 49, I'd do it, but not 17 and 32.
No, I'm not doing it for 32. I didn't do the value on it, but I think 49 may have come out to that math, but I don't really want to give that up. I don't want to give that up either, man. And to say this, so it was somebody on a podcast much like our own. Of course, we have our ear to the ground. We have some friends or buddies, and usually the things that they can't put out there is because they can't corroborate it with a second source in order to be a responsible journalist and put it out there. So it's like a bug is in the ear, and now and some of it's just plain horse shit. All right, it'll go up the bullshit pretty soon. Because
wait, that's 2. You threw 2
I know, but it's
required.
It's required for this because it stinks. Now, somebody else, CBS Sports or something, said, "Oh, I could verify that." The Steelers have talked to 31 teams, more than likely.
Yeah,
they just had GMs and owner meetings, everything like that, and they're like, "Yeah, what would it take to maybe move into there? What are you looking to get for that?"
That's what it would take.
They're not calling on the spur of the moment, like Steelers are now on the clock, and it's down to like 9 minutes and 15 seconds, and
they're gonna know what their options are.
Yeah, they already have an idea of this is where they would be willing to move. This team is not moving from this spot because they have their eyes fixated on a specific player. They're not going to tell you who that is, but all these teams talk. So, yeah, I'm not saying that they didn't talk or this guy's information was bad, but it was just funny to me that it would be like myself saying this, and then you go and you heard it, and you're running, or Tina Rivers running Steel City Underground on the article side of things publishes an article with it, and then somebody else from one of the other Steelers sites, and all of a sudden it's like boom, like a big echo chamber, like this blast that just ripples across, and all of a sudden it's news, and everybody's like, oh look, they're gonna trade for 9, and I roll my eyes at this. The only ones they're not talking with is like moving up the one with the Panthers or something, but they might be talking about one of their other picks in the draft, or Arizona, like somewhere, hey, 3rd round, and they all know each other. They got to have each other on the speed dial and be able to do these things quickly. They've already got a general idea. They have a general idea what teams are interested in who also. This is all part of the science of doing this. So I just thought that was so, I just chuckled so much at that as everybody is tripping over themselves to be first to report what was originally in a tweet. And it's funny because the original guy, I think his name was EJ Snyder, and I'm not throwing any shade at him whatsoever. He actually pulled back on this because somebody said EJ the Insider, and he goes, no, I don't want any part of that breaking news stuff. And I'm like, what a refreshing take. That's the way I feel about it. That's why you don't hear like anything that you hear here. I'll be like, well, Mark Caboli tweeted out this, or Adam Schefter did this. It's somebody credible. Just follow them on Twitter, and you don't have to follow like the Steelers, I don't know, Steelers Zones and Steelers Castle and all these other things that are out there. And I know it's like making fun of us in a certain point to this, but I just retweet the other people. It's much easier than trying to sound like the expert. But anyways, that's where it is when it comes to Steelers moving up, this, that, the other thing. I don't want them to get rid of any of the top 3 picks in the top 50. It's been since 1989. One of Chuck Noll's final drafts that they've had 3 picks in the top 50. This is a golden opportunity for them to load up on some players. So you look at Brian Breesy, probably gone before 32 if they don't go at 17. Massey Smith out of Michigan.
He'll be there.
I think so.
There's no way he's going that early.
And they met with them. Didn't they do dinner with them? Like it seems, and Mike Tomlin likes the Big Ten guys that have played in cold weather. 6'3", 323. What's Cam weighing in at these days? I got I'm going to look them up real quick because there's like just a certain build. It's kind of like the centers. The Steelers centers are usually like 298. They're not quite tipping the scales at 300, you know. Cam is 295. And I'm going to say Ogunjobi is right there too, 305. There you go. So I don't think they want a guy that's like 320. He's listed 6'3", 323, so he is a load. Javon Hargrave. I'm just going to use this as a comp, by the way.
Jay Wobble.
Yeah, he wobbled. Well, you got the junk in the trunk. He's a little shorter of a guy, 6'2", 305. So if they go after somebody like Mazzy Smith, they're going to expect Mazzy Smith to just cut a little bit of weight there. Keanu Reeves, Benton from Wisconsin. There's another guy you could be looking at, 6'4", 309. So pretty good pass rusher. That should be maybe a day 2. There's nobody putting first round grades, I don't think, on him. See, I seen Mazzy sneak into the first round. Breesy's been in that talk too.
Breesy's definitely been in the first round. Clancy's been in the first round. But I mean, there's, you know, look, the D-line, the difference between Jalen Carter and everybody else is dramatic.
Yeah, this isn't like Montez Sweat floating into the middle rounds to Washington a few years ago, or Jordan Davis last year, where it's not even a top heavy class. It's this guy, and then there's a next tier that's, you know, 3-4 dudes, and you get the Siaki Ika.
Yeah,
330.
I call him Sakai or whatever his name is. Yeah.
What's that
Sakai.
from? Sakai.
Oh. That was like an Avatar quote, but I don't know.
It could be. No, there's man. I was thinking of the Grand Master and Sakaar. Thor Ragnarok with Jeff Goldblum. Yeah.
It could be. Not what I was. That wasn't in my head, but okay, I'll take it.
Yeah, that's what it was. Something like that. You start to get down here like Kobe Turner from Wake Forest, Moro Ojomo, Zach Pickens. Gervon Dexter Sr. I believe this is a guy they did meet with from Florida. 6'6", 310.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's a big dude. But it's not going to be nose tackle. And we do know one thing though. We're talking about a lot with the Eagles and the structure of their roster because Vandy Whitehall coming over as the assistant GM. And we think he's kind of like, he's more the personnel guy, and Omar Khan is more the, you know, kind of the analytical side, the business side, the number cruncher. He probably has his own math chart in his head when it comes to these picks. And the Eagles like to have a lot of fresh bodies in that defensive front. They like to beef up the offensive line, the defensive line, and make sure they can cover in the secondary. And that's why I still think, like, if there's a top corner, that's why you're shooting at. Put it this way, the reason we can't get like fixated on one position is because the Steelers are not only the good thing is that they're position flexible. I think with the first pick, it's also a matter of these positions. In certain cases, there's like one major guy at the top, but as each of these teams go and takes like their Will Levis, it's going to fall, and maybe one of these big names is there at 17. So then you're really focusing in on 32. But I do think the front seven is going to be important here. I don't know if I should go through any other names.
They'll grab a defensive lineman at some point in the draft. I'd be surprised if they didn't. I mean, but again, it all depends on how the boards fall, right, and how the picks fall. If the right guy's not there with the right value, maybe they don't. I mean, they do. You know, you have DeMarvin Leal. You've got, you know, some depth that you've picked up in free agency. You re-signed Ogunjobi. I know Cam is getting to be a little longer in the tooth, even as it hurts my heart to say it. But
grown ass old man.
Yeah, well,
I won't say that to his face ever.
No, you should be sad. It's, you know, it won't be surprising, but I think it has to be the right value, right? It has to be the right guy in the right spot for them to pull the trigger. I don't feel like defensive line is a desperate need, but at some point you have to start restocking the pantry, so to speak. And they may have started that. I was encouraged with what we saw out of Leal last year. They may have started that there. But, you do have to get fresh bodies. So
yeah,
I won't be surprised if it happens.
There is a little bit of cap savings, but it's kind of like it's split really with Ogunjobi. Most of it, his cap number is lower this year, so it's spread out over the other 2 years. There really isn't a reason to move on from him past this season and end up being 30 years old and 24 and 2025 31 and just taking a look at that. It's the only reason I bring this up is like even the 3-year deal, sometimes it's you're only going to play 2 of the 3, maybe even 1 of the 3, depending on how they load and do this. It may as well be void years in some cases. His cap number 13.2 next year, only 4.9 though for this upcoming season. That's nice. And then 13.2, 10.5, but they're going to eat about 10 million of that total. It's almost 24 million. Over that, but still save 14 if they got a rookie that could play. You don't know. Cam could walk away after this year. I mean, it doesn't sound like he's going to. I think he'll play out the remainder of his contract, which runs through. We also have it here. I'll blow that up a little bit bigger for the folks that are watching at home or on your mobile devices. I don't know where you're watching actually, but Cam for this year, he ain't going nowhere. They're not going to cut him, but that's 16 mil in cap savings. And this comes from restructures and things like that when he's done some help. It's, is that retirement on into retirement, 6.4, 34, 35 years of age. I'd hate to say it. I think he's got enough fire if he feels, unless there's some catastrophic injury or something, knock on wood, like a placing a Lulu. But it's good to maybe at least preserve this guy from playing like a full 90% of the defensive snaps.
What's amazing to me about Cam Hayward is that he just consistently has been at a high level for the last many years, right? And not just at a high level, but almost feeling like he's gotten better and more dominant at times. And so it is hard to say, is this the year he just disappears and drops off? He does a great job of taking care of himself. He does the right things. I won't be surprised if we get through this season and they offer him an extension of some kind if he wants it. That might be another 2 years. That again pushes some of that 16 million out and things like that. It's not going to be another big payday, but they might. If he wants to play and he's still playing at the level he's been playing at, then why would you ever force him out?
Yeah, and I mean, so you've got Hayward, you got Ogunjobi, you're set there. You've got either Adams, maybe Armon Watts, the other guy from the Chargers that they signed, Braden Fehoko, Renell Wren. I'm sorry, but some of these guys, they're going to be barely on the roster. They're at that bottom part where you're going from like the inactives list type. And it's just, that's just the business of football. It's the devil you know and the devil you don't. You could have a rookie that could just come in there and automatically be. How many times did everybody complain that Steelers don't have depth? And we say you can't have all-star depth. The only way you can have all-star depth is to have all-star starters, and then you're drafting guys that have all-star potential to spell them. That's the only way that ever works, Yeah. So to Marvin Leal, I'm not poo-pooing on him at all. I love DeMarvin Leal, but let's just face it. I don't think Adams is going to fill in for Ogunjobi. Chris Wormley, he's still floating around in space there too, and I don't think that's a callback either. I just don't know where if he ends up anywhere really. I didn't see him sign anywhere. Did you? I didn't.
I did not.
I will double check that to make sure I'm not talking out of my posterior here. It still says he's with the Steelers, but he's not with the Steelers. I believe somebody did not even update their Wikipedia entry here. Yeah, he's not under contract. His contract is expired. So he's not an expensive player by any means. So, but just just naming those names, I mean, Leal may have promise. He may have been somebody that was a steal in the third round last year, but that's all you've got. And if one of the other two guys, even just to spell them for a breath, or they get dinged within the game, and they might play next week, but their ribs, now you got to play 30, 35 snaps. And Leal can't be out there the entire time. So now it's like, Fehoko or Watts or Wren or even Montrevious Adams. No, I'm sorry. It's just maybe Loudermilk, but I mean, I think you're counting on him punching up above where he was, brought into play at. So
absolutely.
I do think one of these, it might not be so exciting, but offensive line, defensive line, and then corner would be exciting. It depends on what they get. But I think that's really kind of where they're headed. Although Brian, we got to talk about linebackers. I wasn't planning on talking about edge guys, because if their plan is to have Dupree, there's no point. Like, they could take a 7th rounder or something like that. But what about the inside? Like, how comfortable are we feeling with just Mark Robinson, really? Like, you got a Landon Roberts. He's a thumper. He's a Vince Williams type. He's a Lawrence Timmons type. Maybe not even as athletic as Timmons, to be completely honest.
Well, yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, or as versatile, at least. But you get the idea. You know what I mean? And then Cole Holcomb, who's going to have the green dot, who's going to be the play caller in that. But Cole's on a 3-year. Roberts is on a 2-year. It just tells me that they could still bring Robinson along, but there's a hole there in this inside linebacker core for somebody that could come in. I'm not saying 17. I don't think is there a 1st round inside linebacker in this class like a Tremaine Edmonds was? No, there's not.
No.
And so
I know Tina's going to love this.
Oh yeah.
Because I am becoming more and more enamored with Jack Campbell. And there is every chance that he won't be around at 49, but they could get him at 32. But if again, it's where's the value, right? Where's the value? If one of the tackles that you really like, is going to be gone at 49, but this is the guy you think is the best value at 32, then that's where you go, right? But if they can find a way to get Jack Campbell is a Pittsburgh Steelers linebacker. And it has nothing to do with the fact that he's been playing in black and gold for the last X years in Iowa.
It's easy to see, though, with the block numbers.
He just is. I mean, I like Trenton Simpson. I like Deion Hensley. There's a couple other guys I like that I can't remember.
Drew Sanders out of Arkansas.
Drew Sanders I like him a lot.
Almost interchangeably with Jack Campbell. It's really tough to say who would be the first off the board here. These guys.
I've seen Drew Sanders get 1st round grades in some people's drafts. I've seen him not be taken till the 3rd round in some people's drafts. There's no Tremaine Edmonds in this draft. Let's just put it that way. There are guys that have skills. There are guys that are going to be good, solid, maybe even all pro level starters in the NFL in this draft. But there's not that clear cut. This is the dude, right? There's no Micah Parsons in this draft.
There you go. And I don't even think anybody knew that Micah Parsons was going to be edge rusher Micah Parsons when they took him either. Or else it might have went out a little differently. Yeah, Deion Henley from Washington State, Jack Campbell out of Iowa, Drew Sanders out of Arkansas, Trenton Simpson out of Clemson. I think those guys are all kind of huddled together before you get down into like Dorian Williams, Tulane, DeMarvin Overshone, Ivan Pace Jr.
Dorian Williams, 3rd round.
Yeah.
Right. If he's there, if you didn't pick somebody in the first couple rounds and he's there in the 3rd, that's a guy they could look at. I don't know if they visited him to him. I haven't had enough time to pay attention to who they've talked to and who they haven't. But yeah, he's not up in those 2nd round conversations. I don't think.
No. And it's like pretty much like and by 1st round, we're probably talking late 1st round.
I won't be surprised if none of them go in the 1st round.
Well, I'm not going to say that necessarily because the Buffalo Bills, I don't think they replaced Tremaine Edmonds adequately. They still have Matt Milano up there too, but outside of that, I think they could use some linebacker help.
I just said I won't be surprised. I didn't say it's impossible.
Well, yeah, okay, yeah.
I didn't say there's no way in heck they're going in the 1st round. No. I just won't be surprised if none of them go in the 1st round. Buffalo absolutely could take a linebacker to replace Tremaine Edmonds, and they might target Drew Sanders, and they might target Jack Campbell, right? Of the guys in this draft, if you want to have that comparison, those are the 2 guys that I'd give it to. It's it's not, they're not necessary. It's just not the same, right? It's just not, this is clearly a first round guy in this draft. So they're going to go fast in the second though.
Yeah. Well, it's because if the teams don't, the teams that'll take it in the first, it's going to be like Terrell Edmonds.
Yeah.
The team that has a need, and it's going to be a guy that they're going to pan. It's like, it's 4 picks from being in the second round.
Yep.
It's like, come on. He's not going to be there when they come swing back around.
Not at all. No chance.
The 28th pick or whatever of the second round when they're in the same exact spot. It's just not going to work that way. I was thinking about that too. Like I was talking about that. I was making fun of that whole Browns thing, but in some of the scenarios there, I think it was the Rams or somebody like pretty much just gave me like a high third rounder to just move back 4 spots from 32 to like 36.
Yeah,
and I was like,
I take that all day, every day.
Yeah, because you look at this list I was just talking about, and if you don't grab one of these guys, they're going to be there around the top of the third, possibly too. It's not a guarantee, but there's still, and we still have corners and safeties to talk about on another show, and I think that pretty much does it by position. And then we're going to get into some mock draft insanity where we could show you all of this, but that'd be pretty nifty stuff. What's gonna happen is, you're going to have some team, they get the stop, pick 31 or 32 or whatever it is, the end of the first round, and then the Steelers have that first pick of the second round the next day. And everyone's getting to sleep on it.
People
and they
are going to call.
Wait, and now they get to readjust their boards and figure out who might take who where and adjust the magnets and the little cards and the whiteboards, and everything moves around. And so I think it gets very, very interesting, and instead of the rapid fire that you have with the first round and the fireworks and everything, I think it could be a very lively day 2 for Omar Khan and Andy Weidel.
Oh, absolutely. There's no question about it. Yeah. They're going to get calls on day 2 at 32. There are people who are going to want 32 and are going to make offers for 32. And, from the Steelers standpoint, it's all going to be about, is the guy we want there? And if he is, where are you trying to move me to? And do I think he's going to be there then? But they're going to get calls. They're going to be on the phone from the end of the first round, right? Maybe even before the end of the first round, people are going to start calling the Steelers and going, what do we need to move to 32? What do we need to move to 32? Because there's going to be people there that are very high valued picks.
Yeah. And I was going to actually pull up, I was looking to see who had San Francisco has like all of these third round picks, but they don't have anything else ahead of that because of the Trey Lance trade. But like the Denver Broncos, for example, have 67, 68, and you got a couple of teams that have a few extras. Jets have 42, 43. There's some teams that have got some stuff here. They've got some capital to work with, and I think they can move around. The other thing I was going to say that was going to be, I kind of lost. I know we're not mocking the mock drafts, but we'll get this one just because for Charles Davis, we already mentioned it, and I'm sure he's going to have another version of this by the time we get to mocking all of the mock drafts. But I just wanted to show you. Okay, so there's Nolan Smith, edge rusher, Georgia. Maybe we'll talk about a few edge rushers just in case, but I just don't see him at 17 or 32. I'm thinking Brian.
Look, Will Anderson Jr. falls to 17. Then they take him.
The world,
right? Okay.
Hell is frozen over if that happens.
I know.
I'm sorry. Is he getting past 3 with the Arizona Cardinals, or what? 5 or 6 with the Seahawks, or maybe even the Lions may even take a dip.
No way he's going to get out.
Dan Kimmel. So Nolan Smith. Hold on. So where'd they put him in this one? But there with the Seahawks at 5. So Bryce Young, number 1 overall, Panthers. CJ Stroud, 2, the Texans. Tyree Wilson. Ooh, there you go. Wilson with the Cardinals, 3. Yep. Will Levis, thank you very much. Indianapolis Colts.
Levi Strauss, yeah.
Yeah, Anderson goes pick 5 to Seahawks. Jalen Carter to the Lions.
And that is where I think Jalen Carter goes. I don't think he gets past 6.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Paris Johnson they have with the Raiders. Devin Witherspoon to the Falcons. Peter Skoronski over to the Bears, and then Luke Van Ness to the Eagles. This is, once again, Charles Davis's mock draft. The reason I'm showing you this is to show you who comes after the Steelers pick and who's already off the board. So Anthony Richardson to the Tennessee Titans. Jackson Smith and Jigba paired up with Stroud with the Texans. Darnell Wright, there's a name we haven't talked about. We just don't. I don't think we value him the same way.
That's absurdly high for Darnell Wright.
Yeah, to the Jets. And then the Patriots end up snagging the guy, like you were saying, Porter Jr., Christian Gonzalez. Seems like it might be a Bill Belichick type move. Coach and GM there. Dalton Kincaid, tight end to the Packers. Yeah. Add the weapons as Aaron Rodgers leaves. There you go. And the Commanders take Joey Porter Jr. one pick before the Steelers, and he has Nolan Smith, the edge rusher out of Georgia. B.J. Robinson to
there you go. This is why it's a dumb thing.
Well, a lot of speculation with the Eagles losing Miles Sanders too. Robinson,
no.
You think he's the
it's
first
because
rounder?
of the next one that you showed.
Oh, there it is. Broderick Jones is just sitting there at 19. That's the one I wanted to show you.
That's not going to happen. No, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
If Broderick Jones is on the table and they're not taking Nolan, whatever his name is.
Yeah, Nolan Ryan. The Express.
No, that's the guy. That guy plays fast. He's a pitcher.
Nolan Ryan's the most ridiculous. Him and Tony Gwynn, the most ridiculous stats of any base. There's a lot of great baseball stats, and it's very much a numbers game. When you talk about being a stats whore with football and it doesn't line up, it sure does with baseball. And Nolan Ryan is one of the greats. So is Tony Gwynn, man. I love seeing those things. But anyways, Deonte Banks shows up here now with the Seahawks with their next pick of the first round at 20. Chargers, Jordan Addison. And that was one that Flash was actually alluding to was, well, he was talking about the Chargers taking a wide receiver.
No, I'm sorry. I'm laughing at Hendon Hooker.
Oh, Hendon Hooker to the Ravens. Yeah, because the Ravens got to get desperate and go all in on a quarterback, and then Lamar Jackson just signed his tag anyways. Kalijah Kancey to the Vikings.
Oh, did he sign it?
No, he didn't, but watch that be the case.
Yeah, after they draft a guy.
And then it's not a long-term deal, so they get the next guy up to speed. Hey, putting on the thinking cap. Miles Murphy, edge rusher to Jacksonville. Zay Flowers to the Giants. He's linked to a lot of first-round picks. Michael Mayer over tight end from Notre Dame to the Cowboys. Brian Branch, Alabama, to the Buffalo Bills. And they'll just add him into that mix. It actually says it right here. A Hyde Poyer show in Buffalo. That just rolls off the tongue. Bengals, Emmanuel Forbes. That would be an interesting pick for them.
I like Emmanuel Forbes, but that's too high for him, I think.
But I think he's still, is he around 49?
No.
I don't think so either.
He'd be there 32 probably.
And it's what we were talking about. Mazzie Smith gone at 29 to the Saints. Jalen Hyatt, wide receiver from the Volunteers, Tennessee, at pick 30. Then the Chiefs finished this out with Felix Anudike-Uzomah, edge rusher, Kansas State. And that's just, I think they need some dudes there too. Everybody's going to be looking to get after the quarterback, but then it just shows you how many other guys we just mentioned might still be on the board just based on the mock draft. So it's like it's really all over the place. Not that it's unlike any other year, but it just seems like there's a lot of more mid guys than there are top levels.
There really are.
A lot of positions.
There are a lot there. This is a draft, and it may feel that way because the talent pool is fairly deep in several positions, right? But it's not as deep in some of the positions we are used to it being deep in, right? Wide receiver is one. There's in my mind, there's Jackson Smith and Jigma and everybody else, right?
I'm not going to disagree with that.
And that's not normally the case. Normally there's 2, 3, maybe even 4 guys that you're like, oh.
Well, even in that case, even though he was hurt, Jamison Williams, right?
Yeah,
it was still, he was there, but Jamison Williams, is another level over on top of where Jackson Smith and Jigba would have been, maybe, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and then there would be 3 Jackson Smith and Jigbas.
Yeah.
So,
I think it feels like there's a bunch of mid-round guys or mid-level guys because there just aren't as many stand-out guys. And I don't know whether that's because most of these guys are actually just all really good, and it's hard to project them being one of them being that much beyond. But it does feel that way, right? I agree with what you're saying. It feels like there is a very small elite crop, and then there's a bunch of guys that are going to be really good, really solid players, and you're not going to go wrong picking them, but they're not the elite. And, at the end of the day, once we revisit this draft in 5 and 6, 7 years from now, we'll find out that all of the elite guys all sucked, and the mid round guys were great, and there'll be some guy in the eighth round that doesn't exist.
The 8th round, Mr. Super Irrelevant.
Yeah,
very irrelevant.
Some guy who got signed onto a practice squad and then came in and became like the king of the May.
Yeah. But you look back on some of these drafts and it's like, wow, only one of the top 10 picks actually panned out to be anything. That could very well bust out like this with this quarterback class. I mean, we're the Ohio State fans here, the Ohio State University Buckeyes.
CJ's gonna be good.
You think so? But there's still that stigma of Ohio State quarterbacks, my friend.
He's not like those Ohio State quarterbacks of the past. Those guys were all running quarterbacks.
Neither was Justin Fields. So just say, I know.
CJ's Justin more Fields was absolutely a running quarterback.
Yeah.
CJ's got his accuracy is just sick.
Yeah.
He's
got some touch, man. He really does.
He really does. I think he's going to be good. The only problem with CJ that you could is the team that drafts him could ruin him, right? If he gets hammered, because he's not a big guy, right? If he gets hammered behind a bad offensive line, man, he could just get wrecked.
Yeah, and I've been bombing on Will Levis, but Bryce Young, is it like the Jalen Hurts effect or whatever?
Bryce Young. I'm scared he's going to get crumpled.
Yeah, Anthony Richardson, I know he killed.
He's got a little bit more oomph.
He's athletic as all hell.
Levi Strauss is just going to get hammered all the time because he wants to be a weightlifter and a bodybuilder guy, and he's like, I'm this guy. And
can you do that again? Me, Will Levis.
Me lift weight. Be big, strong man. Gonna be ripped. Show you my muscles on the beach. And he's gonna get stiff. He's not gonna be able to move, right? And gonna be like, gonna get crunched.
That's great. It almost reminds me of the Saturday Night Live bit. What was that? Hans and Franz.
Pump you up.
We will pump you up. but once you get through those names I just mentioned down to Richardson, then it kind of just goes. We're talking about whether there's 4 or 5. I think I told Zach 4 first-round quarterbacks, but you don't know if.
What did I say?
I don't know. Did you say 4 or 5? Tanner McKee, Hendon Hooker.
And then
I said after
5
that, I mean, it really.
People are dumb.
Yeah, then it really gets beyond that. Like, are you getting it? Are you jumping for joy for Stetson Bennett?
No, I've drafted Stetson Bennett in the 7th round 7 times.
Which is fine. I mean, see, that's the whole thing. Like, people will be like, why are you so against it? Because it's the different levels of value and the way you place it on guys.
I'm not against Stetson Bennett. I'm just against him being a pick that matters.
So what you're saying is you would like another chance at Matt Corral or Sam Howell.
No, I don't want either one of them either.
And Mac Jones.
No Doughboys. I don't want Doughboy.
No Doughboy. But I mean, that pretty much but the reason we're saying that is there's those 4 picks.
But there you go. You went from Mac Jones Doughboy to Will Levi Strauss, Adonis boy. And
I am not like this guy.
Yes, I am no doughboy. I am built.
I have won 5 Mr. Olympias.
Look, I apologize to everybody. It's very late.
Yeah. And I'll be watching this it's so late enough that it'll be a morning when they finally do get to see this cut in. But it's just the point of, okay, the quarterback class, people will be desperate enough and there's enough names that you'll slide in and there'll be some. But running back, there's what? BJ and Robinson, and that's it.
And that's
right?
it. That's it.
And then,
basically anybody else is way off the mark.
There's some tight ends, but do people value tight end that high? Is this Kyle Pitts type territory? I don't know.
Last draft you had 2 tight ends going in the 1st round. When's the last time 2 tight ends?
I don't know. I can't say that they're.
I'm sure it's happening, and it's probably happened. It probably happened last year, and I just didn't pay attention. But
no, I can't even tell you who the tight ends were that were drafted last year. That's you know what? We're going to find out. Usually it tells you, there were 19 tight ends that were taken in the 2022 NFL draft. And We will find. Oh, of course. Don't type TE as your filter to go searching for it, but let's not do that. Let's do it this way. We know what else we didn't mention though in this whole this whole thing, and I know we didn't get into secondary. That's like the real last thing to touch. But the mock draft.
If we touch that before Zach is on, he'll be mad at me.
In fact, it was going to be me and Zach doing that before we talked about this, but I wouldn't do him dirty like that. So we didn't talk about any interior offensive linemen, like in that mock draft or even really otherwise, as potentially going in the first round. Exactly.
Unless you think Skowronski is an interior guy, there isn't an interior guy to talk about in the first round.
Yes, that's correct. And most people do believe that Skowronski will be there. What am I looking for, Brian? I am looking for.
You're trying to find out how many tight ends were drafted in the first round last year.
None. Trey McBride went 55 overall to the Arizona Cardinals. Jelani Woods was in the third round with Greg Dulcich and Jeremy Ruckert. Those were your three, and everybody else was fourth round and beyond. So it's that didn't really happen. Now, of course, we know Freiermuth went. Ooh, how high did Freiermuth go? Was that second round? No, he was a second rounder, but I'm trying to think what his actual. They didn't have a pick. I don't even think as high as 49 at that point. And there's a great name throwback from mock drafts past, but he was 55, so I was right. So just Kyle Pitts, fourth overall, Pat Freiermuth, 55, and then you have Hunter Long, Dolphins, 81, Tommy Tremble. I like Tommy Tremble. I still do. 83 to the Panthers, and pick 97 compensatory Trey McKitty out of Georgia. That's my throwback name there when it comes to the tight ends. And you know what? I will just do everyone a solid and go back even just one more because I'm that kind of guy. It just takes me a second. I got the power. I got the touch here. No first rounder in 2020 either. Cole Kmet was the first one off the board. Pick 43 to the Bears. And then you had a handful of third rounders. Devin I don't even know how to say his name. Is he still in the league? To the Patriots. Aziazi, Josiah Dikwara to the Packers. Like Dalton Keene again to the Patriots. They took two tight ends at 91 and 101.
What draft year did Dallas Goedert get picked?
That's a great question. Adam Troutman from the University of Dayton, like the first Dayton guy that got drafted in like 20, 30 years, went to the Saints at pick 105. Dallas Goedert. Wow. Okay, let's throw it back because that's like one of your last real. You may even have to go back to the Ravens, taking Hunter Henry.
Hunter Henry. Yeah. Mark Andrews, those guys.
Yeah, well, Andrews was a third rounder too. So that's
good point. Yeah. 2018
second round pick 49 for Dallas Goedert. So it's like those will start at least letting other guys trickle down to the Steelers pick 49 and into the third round maybe as some of the tight ends end up going, because it's really, although this is a better tight end class, you might get a couple of second rounders in this one, I think.
Well, I mean, you may get one that slides up into the first round, but again, it just doesn't happen that often.
Yeah.
And to have two, forget it. There's not going to be two tight ends drafted in the first round. If there are, I am not going to run around naked in my neighborhood because I don't care that much. But I'll just say I'll be surprised on draft night. I'll go, wow, two tight ends were taken in the first round. I
envisioned the whole naked
really
running,
amazing.
But it
didn't. No.
Two.
Stop that. Don't be thinking about me naked. I don't like that.
Listen to this. Pick 25, Baltimore Ravens, first round of the 2018 draft. Aiden Hurst, and then Mike Gesicki goes at 42 before Goddard goes at 49, and Andrews goes at 86. That's and then you just have Jordan Atkins, 98 to the Texans, third round, and then that's the cutoff. But you got like Ian Thomas, Will Disley, Durham Smythe, Dalton Schultz, Troy Fumagalli from Wisconsin. Forgot about him. Tyler Conklin. Like, there's a handful of dudes that went like, fourth, fifth round here.
Just remind everybody, when did Kittle go?
Kittle was fourth round.
Yeah, it was late. I mean, I know that Zach was losing his mind.
And former contributor Eric Herman that was here as well lost his mind. Yeah, fifth round, pick 146. That was one. If you're ever going to nail one, that was the draft where Mitchell Trubisky goes second overall. And I'll do it for
Well,
all
man,
of
let
us
me
here.
just tell you, which would be better? The Bears picking Mitch Trubisky or move George Kittle up to the second pick?
That would have maybe been a healthy George Kittle would have been better there. O.J.
Yes.
Howard went. Here's your draft. This is the one you're looking for right here. Is 2017, just a year earlier. This may have ruined tight ends for the NFL draft in much the same way running backs have been pretty much just ruined as well. And I got to get over saying ruined versus ruined. Pick 19, Tampa Bay, O.J. Howard. 23, New York Giants, Evan Ingram, who he finally did some stuff this year with the Jags. And pick 29, David Njoku, who was all linked up to the Steelers, don't forget. Gerald Everett, second rounder. Adam Shaheen. That's a rest in peace there. Jonnu Smith.
I liked Adam Shaheen
I
too,
did
but
too.
man.
He was a monster. But Gliac, Division II, Ashland in the middle of Ohio. That's like around the Mansfield, the Reformatory, the Shawshank prison. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing else there when it comes to that college. That place is probably dry as a bone. And did I say John L. Smith and then Michael Roberts, Jake Butt, George Kittle? I mean, that's pretty crazy, man. I mean, I love seeing some of these names and looking back on that, but that's really the last time where you had a lot of them go. And you know what? I'm here for it. If anyone thinks that there's that many value guys there, go grab them up and take them before 17.
Sure, take them before 17.
Yep.
There won't be a tight end taken before 17.
A run on tight ends, just like fantasy drafts.
Yeah, come on, let it happen. Let it happen.
Come on, don't you want Travis Kelce in your half-point PPR league? First round pick. Although he did put up wide receiver numbers though.
You realize you're talking about fantasy football and I don't understand anything you're saying.
Yeah, you know what? That's okay. We have gambling sponsors and we don't know what we're talking about half the time either. Like I don't do enough of. I got friends that are betting on 4-leg parlays for like CONCACAF Champions League soccer.
Sounds like they're betting on a dog.
Yeah, I've seen people bet. I used
4-leg. What else is a horse? I guess
a horse is a horse. Of course.
Yeah,
that's Mr. Ed. His name is Mr. Ed. Anyways, my friend, thanks for chilling with us. We are up.
I gotta go to bed.
We got some quality stuff. That's what I said, man. It's like usually we don't talk about like, hey, we just did this at night or whatever, man. This is not going up in the middle of the wee hours of the morning because even though we love you West Coast folks and maybe some of our friends across the pond, we all need some sleep.
Yeah,
but we had to make sure we're getting up against it, not only with this show, but with the NFL draft. The NFL draft.
Yeah, we got to save our energy to do our live draft night shows.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about what's coming up as far as our program. We got the secondary. We're going to close out with that, right? Maybe we'll do a show on specialists, Brian, because you just never know when they might draft a long snapper. And then we're not going to do that. We're going to mock more mock drafts.
Do that. Yeah.
We're going to mock more mock drafts. We may have our own mock drafts. We'll definitely have a mock draft insanity. And maybe we'll even just give you a short informative show on what the Steelers got and what we think they're going to do. Maybe that's all in the same thing. I don't know. I hadn't planned this out. I just know I could picture, I could vision. I got the vision. It's like we're right there. I could see the finish line. It is here.
But I got important questions to ask you, though.
Yeah, okay. Go for it.
So are we going to be live on draft night?
That's the plan, my friend. Whether or not there's two or three of us is the major question. There's some logistical things to do.
That's Thursday. So if draft night 1, Thursday night. So mark it down. At least 2. I will be here. I will be here unless you don't invite me, which would be rude. But I will be here.
No, you're always you're a priority guest here on the Steel City
on the thing, whatever.
City Underground podcast.
That thing? Yeah, that's
thing.
The show.
No, you're not even a guest. You're a co-host. You're a co-host. I'm a co-host too. I don't like just being called host. It's just not. It's not fair. The only reason it's like I'm on every one of these things. Sometimes I don't want to be. I'll be honest. I'm like I get dragged down. I'm just like, man, I'm tired. But it's like
it's not all your fault. You know it's my fault too. I used to do solo shows. I used to do my own. I still have time. And you have to Joe's going to set me up with some fancy schmancy software stuff. Yes. And then maybe I'll do my own. But all right, so then Friday night, we going live again?
I think live 2 nights. I think we'll go back to back.
And then a recap show to tie it all together that isn't live.
And that probably happens after the weekend and
Sunday.
Because they don't right now they don't have 5th or 6th round picks unless there's something really stupid exciting to go on. Like what are we going to talk about? They Chris Oladokin, like part 2. You know what I mean? It's just, I'm not feeling it. But that's a little bit of programming notes for our 2%ers where you can look for us. So I'm trying not to have us be into the one. We'll get back to the 1 a week thing probably in June here or there before we start banging out more shows closer to training camp. And then before you know it, you're going to be out there, sitting out there. Last year, I took an umbrella. Tell you what, an umbrella, game-changing piece of equipment, my friend. Golf umbrella. You can get one for $5 or $6 at the Home Depot. It's also the Home Depot, by the way. Not just Home Depot. It's the Home Depot.
Do you know where I was last year during training camp?
You weren't in Latrobe.
I was on top of a mountain in Oregon.
Oh, that's right. Right. You were climbing. He's base jumping. He's doing all kinds of crazy.
I did not do any base jumping. Don't say that. My wife will think I did it.
Because you're crazy enough and she'll believe it. But yeah, man, it's like, I know I'm already talking about camp. It's where I'm already thinking is it's like, I want to see these players. I don't even know who they're drafting yet, but I want to see them and get excited to see them. But whether it always rains. So to have an umbrella for the rain, but to also have it to shade you from the sun.
Yes. That's the huge. One that I think is big.
Game changer.
The sun is my enemy.
The sun is both of our enemies. I'm too much of a light complexion myself, man. I was out Easter.
Look at the two of us in the screen. Look at us side by side. I'm the whitest white man ever.
I have no hair. Okay. Well, I'm bald. And I go out for Easter egg hunting with the little kid with the, okay, so she's 9. She's at the tail end of doing this. But I go out and my head gets a little bit of sun. Okay. I was down at Disney a month and a half ago, but I wore hats the entire time because I'm smart. I did not wear a hat on Sunday. The Easter egg hunt, 11,000 real eggs that were boiled for this Easter egg hunt.
That sounds very smelly.
I don't know if it's smelly or not. Maybe after you eat them and process them, but it's insane. But I was out there and I got my scalp got burnt. Like I wasn't even out there like maybe an hour. And it's just like, this is just so unfair. So then my lips are feeling it right now. You see me constantly doing this tonight and, rubbing up and playing and touching my face and stuff. I don't have a conniption fit. I don't have a twitch. I'm not on the sauce or anything like that. So just chapped lips, head's itchy because I'm peeling.
Do you watch that Hot Ones show?
No, I haven't.
You need to watch that Hot Ones show, man. Watch the Hot Ones show.
I gotta get back on Ted Lasso. That's where I'm headed next.
No, Hot Ones is a YouTube show. Watch the YouTube show. Watch the Hot Ones show.
I gotta do Ted Lasso, man. You probably don't. You're not into that other football.
I don't do that Apple TV stuff, and I don't like. I watched one episode of Ted Lasso.
Oh,
I thought it was interesting, and maybe I would have watched more, but it was on Apple TV, and I don't like Apple.
They annoy me. Head at you. Just shake my head.
I don't like Apple. What do you want from me?
Well, thank you, 1%ers for half percenters.
Yes. All right, yeah. We're just, nobody's going to hear that because we're just going to cut the whole end of this off.
No, I'm not. I'm going to leave it in there. I'll leave it in there because some people, you know what? Somebody unfortunately has left their phone in the other room. They got the AirPods in, the wireless headphones.
Oh my God! Tell these people to shut up.
I can't shut this off. What in the hell is going on here?
When is the show going to be over?
It's not. We have bonus content because we got to know what Brian's T-shirt says before we go.
It says,
"Oh my goodness!" It's like TLDR. Too long, didn't read. In order to insult me, I must first value your opinion. Nice try, though. You wear that on Zoom calls a lot? Next show, I'm going to wear the one that says I'm silently correcting your grammar. And the family members I talked about that use the Yinzer Pittsburgh slang. My uncle, God, I love him to death. If he so happens, he won't be. He does listen to the Ohio State podcast. I turned him on to podcasts, but he's a Browns fan. He's the one I always talk about as being like a second father. He was offended by my T-shirt. I think he knew I wore it for him. And you know what? Sorry, Uncle. I did. Until next time, folks, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Leave a rating or a review. I lost my voice.
Don't leave it on this last part of this show, though. Do it on the first part of this show.
Yeah. Yeah, just did whatever. The thumbs up and everything else that you could do. all the YouTubers, all the cool YouTubers ask everybody to do that. So I'm trying to get into cool crowd here. My name's Joe Kuzma. Probably won't ever be as cool as those folks, nor will this guy, Mr. Brian E. Roach. But thanks for joining us anyways. And until next time, we encourage all of our viewers and listeners out there to be safe, be good, and we'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.